All right, let's do it, Jay. Good morning, everybody. Dave Kaufman in for Elias on the Elias Macco Show. Time for the Big Five, which turned into, I think, the Big 12 yesterday. Yeah, it did, Egbert. It did. So just, stand now and stretch, because you never know. You might be here past 9:30.
Order in.
Order in. We can do Uber Eats if you'd like. I don't know who's going to Uber Eats in this weather. Hopefully they're wearing crampons. It's a little icy out there, so we'll help you through it. We'll bring you weather updates. So hopefully the weather, they say it's going to get warmer, which means less freezing rain and more just raining rain. Welcome to the Big Five. Joining me this morning, Egbert Gaye, the editor and founder of Montreal Community Contact and special advisor to the mayor and Projet Montreal, Jimmy Zoubris. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
We'll start really far away this morning. We're going to start in Saudi Arabia, where they are pouring billions of dollars into becoming a tourist destination. They see it as one way to get their economy off of oil. They're building new airports, resorts, hotels. I hear they're using more than just bone saws to get these done. Would either of you go to Saudi Arabia?
No.
Perfect. Next topic.
There you go.
Next topic.
I think one is the distance. Being on an airplane that many hours would be.
Well, it's not a direct flight. What if you got to stop at Amsterdam for a couple of days?
I mean, but that wouldn't be that's not the deal breaker.
Right.
I think that with everything you've been hearing about Saudi Arabia, I think I'd be a little reluctant to spend my dollars over there. And I said, and I know before we went on air, we were talking about Cuba, and there was other people who feel that way about Cuba and other places around the world. But Saudi Arabia, I think with everything that has happened recently, Khashoggi and so on, I feel that little reluctance to spend money there.
There's a bigger picture. You have to look at that initiative that talks about climate change and their move away from petrol. That petro industry and the petro dollars that drive that economy. So if they can diversify the economy a bit,
well, let's be clear though. They're moving off oil. They just had the IPO for Saudi Aramco.
Yeah.
Didn't they?
Right.
The largest IPO in history.
But
It's
at some
huge,
point, what
monstrously.
you want all countries, oil producing countries, to start thinking about diversifying
Sure,
the economy.
sure.
And beyond that, you look at issues of dissent and people who stand against the government. By opening up the country, you have a better chance of these people giving voice to those.
Fair.
But you're not opening up the country. You're opening up the resorts. There's a big difference between the two, right?
But,
you're not going to be allowed to walk
Canadians,
around.
and I have a little bit of trouble using Cuba as the comparison, but for lack of anything else, let's use Cuba as the comparison.
Right.
Canadians have been traveling there since the 70s, right? Pierre Trudeau opened it up a little bit, and that's when the resorts started. Did Cuba become any freer because of Canadian tourism?
Cuba is a special case. I think the Cuban people are solidly behind their government. When
was the last time you went?
March.
Last March.
No, this March.
Past
March.
Okay.
And the Cuban people are still, for the most part, behind the government.
Did you go off the resort?
Yeah, for sure. I spent 3 days in Havana.
Okay.
Walking
And you got the
speaking
impression
with the
from people you spoke to that they were firmly
Most
behind?
people are for the government.
Okay.
And there were people who were born long after the revolution.
Right.
But,
I had a very different experience than you.
Really?
Yeah, I had a not a tour guide, not an official tour guide, but somebody like a handler, basically,
Right.
who took me around Havana, a little bit younger than me, so in his early 30s, and anything to get off that island. Anything to get off that island and get to Florida.
That's an economic question. That's
get
not
to
political.
Florida and see a Major League Baseball game and be able to do what he wants.
Yeah, social and economic.
They're 90
not a big
miles
deal.
from one of the biggest countries in the world, and they can't go there.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little frustrating. But, I was sort of, when I saw this question come up this morning, I was sort of reminded in the 80s, and Dave probably doesn't remember because he's younger than you and I.
Yeah,
By a couple of years.
exactly.
But I remember there was Las Vegas and there was Sun City, right? And, of course,
I ain't going to play Sun City.
And a lot of the it was, I believe, Little Richard or
Little Steven
Little
from
Steven
Bruce Springsteen's band.
who put together and said, you know what, till the country, comes into the into the 21st century, we're not going to, or at that time, at the 20th century, we're not going to play there anymore. I sort of feel the same way a little bit about Saudi Arabia. I get it that we have to. It's a huge partner for Canada. I'm not happy that we gave them those tanks that we did.
And gave is a good term to use because we still haven't gotten our money for them.
Yeah,
but here's the deal: you have to separate political objections from the social and cultural objections that we are seeing. People in Saudi Arabia, they need outside scrutiny. They need outside people, tourists coming into their country. You can't stop.
The difference is that a country like Cuba actually wants our dollars, needs us. I'm not so sure if Saudi Arabia really needs us. I think they just want to open up, have a better image.
But we need them to diversify that
we
economy.
definitely need
them to
but
move
I'm
away
saying
from
that
that
like there's a big
petrodollar.
difference if we want to compare those two countries, right? Cuba relies on a lot of tourist dollars
Absolutely.
for the people.
Saudi
to live
Arabia does too, but in a different kind of way because of the pilgrimages.
That's right for Mecca.
Right.
But I'm saying that this and I think we spoke about it last week where they're starting to have influencers and everything portray a
did talk about that. It was actually this week. It was Monday.
Sure, yeah,
Monday.
We
Yeah.
talked about a bunch of different stars, including Armie Hammer. A bunch of Instagram influencers were paid to go to Saudi Arabia and tweet about how the
great it
kingdom
is.
how open and wonderful the kingdom is. And meanwhile, Sherbrooke resident Raif Bardawi is languishing in a prison, waiting for 5,000 more lashes before he gets to come home.
That's right.
Yeah, well, again, look at the kind of connection that Saudi Arabia has with the United States. The United States are politically behind Saudi Arabia, and it's pretty good politically for them. But we have to look at what's going on with women. We have to look at what's going on with the people who stand against the government there. And you have a 34-year-old guy who is Mohammed bin Salman, who is the head of that society. He is primed and ready now to be, he's going to be there for the next 20 years.
20 years, maybe 40
exactly,
years.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we have to work on him now. We have to get him to change his ways and to be open, more open.
Yeah, but I don't think Jared Kushner's the guy to get that done, Egbert.
No, you know what? Canadians, that's what Canada has to do. No, it's good that they're opening up, and it's good that you would have more insight.
I think the question was, would you go?
society.
And I would tell you still no.
So would you go, Egbert?
I hate flying.
Okay. So you're
But
on
that's the only reason I wouldn't
Egbert's
go.
on the next boat to
Exactly,
Saudi Arabia.
With Greta.
I mean, with Greta, perfect. I'm sure she'd also be lining up to go. Back on the Big Five on CJ 8800 is 916. Dave Kaufman along with Jimmy Zoubris and Egbert Gaye. We're gonna keep this one wide open. Were the 2010s a good decade for Montreal? Let's ask the guy who works at City Hall.
There you go.
I sort of I think Aaron Rand says it often where he says this is going to be a great city once it's finished being built.
I mean, Rome too, right?
Yeah, I think that 2010 in terms of Montreal, we're looking now that we went through periods where we have tremendous economic growth right now. There's a lot of construction. There's a lot of stuff in the works. Where you see the highways, where you see the Turcotte interchange, which is just about to be finished any day now. I think it was a good decade. I think Montreal. We went through the tough period at the beginning, but I think we're finishing strong. There's a lot of stuff still to do. We're not perfect. Montreal is not perfect. I think we're adjusting now to the Amazons, the new reality in terms of how people shop and everything. I think we're adjusting to a new government in Quebec City that is maybe Montreal is not a priority because they just didn't elect anybody here. But I think Montreal in general, I think we finished stronger than we started, if I can put it that way.
Egbert,
The
what do you
2010,
think? The 2010s, yeah, the decade.
That was Tremblay, Cordair, and Tremblay, Cordair.
It's interesting that you guys are only looking at it from that, like from the City Hall perspective. Because I'm thinking, like, for example, if you're trying to rent an apartment in the 2010s.
Right. Well, it has always been a good place to live. It has always been.
It's gotten a little tougher now.
Yes.
It's gotten a little tougher now. There's been a real crunch. I think the vacancy rate's down to 1.4.
It's under 2%.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Montreal remains still prime property.
Affordable.
Affordable for the most part. Yes, it has been a good time for Montreal, except for the fact that we've never been able to control police brutality. We've never been been able to control some of the ugliness. A lot
For
of people
sure.
are still living on the streets. A lot of poverty can still be found in different pockets around Montreal. Jimmy, you and your peeps need to look at that. You have to look at areas where social housing is still so much needed for a city of this caliber. We've had so much investment and so much good times from the tech and the pharmaceutical industries. A lot of money comes into Montreal at that level. We have a couple of solid universities. People can get educated. We have a good, solid workforce. But I think poverty, people, still living without. We still have issues here on immigrants and black people and minorities and
You
stuff
must
like
feel
that.
somewhat heartened by the news in the last week, though, about police brutality and discrimination and the acknowledgement of the systemic nature of it.
Yes, but we still have a police chief who sees it as biases.
No,
within
I
the
don't.
force. That's the last thing he said.
Well,
And your
but-
mayor, your peeps has yet to say we are confronted by a systemic
We have a
type
report.
of
We've
brutality.
asked for an action plan by March, and at the same time, it was us that commissioned the first time where we finally had numbers. Right? I know before we can say it existed out there, but it was.
And
the
you
first
remember
time
what he said? You remember what the chief said? He said he biases. There are instances of biases.
Yes, he did. You're
And
right.
at that same time, we had the police chief in Halifax who came out and he apologized for decades of systemic racism. We've had the same thing in cities across. In Kingston, a couple of years ago, that police chief came out. And Montreal has to come forward like that. So we're still coming up short in terms of that police relation with minority groups. We're still coming up short with people who are still too poor in this city. We have a city that's too rich, too powerful to leave so many people on the sidelines. Culturally, the city is still cool. We've seen a lot of usage out of Parc Jean Drapeau. We've seen the new center. So culturally, we have that, but politically and socioeconomically, we're coming up short still.
Yeah, I wanted to say I stopped a bit to let Egbert put in his.
Yeah,
two
now,
cents.
and now you have your turn.
No, but I want to say that one of the things that this decade really, I think, did was you saw and he touched upon it on the end, the Montreal festivals have become internationally known, right? I mean, tourism is up every year for the last, I think, since 2011. We've had more and more tourism.
Peaking with the 375th, right?
And even after the 375,
really?
no, I think hotel rooms last year were like at and that's why you're seeing more hotels being built, and especially higher end hotels downtown. At the same time, I'm just looking at the newspaper here. The other thing that's happened in Montreal is that the culinary scene in Montreal is just getting better and better. Leslie Chesterman wrote a fantastic article this weekend where she talked about the most influential restaurants in Montreal for the last decade, and she touched upon different aspects, and
She'll be joining us a little later on in the show.
Oh,
ladies
tell
and
her I'm a huge fan,
I
and
will.
she did and it's we miss her at the Gazette. I used to read her at the Gazette, but she wrote a fantastic article, and that scene too is going very, very well. The Montreal music scene, I think, is doing very well. I think a lot of things have developed very well over the last number of years. We're still not perfect. We still got a lot of ways to do.
It has to trickle down. You see, what's happening is the downtown mentality doesn't really, for the big festivals, for what's that race, that annual
F1.
Formula One.
that thing, that electric
But there's just
thing
for
that-
laughs. There's
but
Jazz,
it does not reach.
Fireworks,
Francophonie.
Francophonie,
Exactly.
Nuit d'Afrique.
We have to make it extend to people on the outside. Just bringing.
Well, that's why it was cool to see the Jazz Festival go down to Verdun last year.
Verdun, and I believe it was that they played in NDG one day, right? Or
they?
was it Verdun? No, it was Verdun, eh?
Yeah, it was
Verdun.
Verdun. It was
Yeah, but you're right about that. Is
Yeah.
that the
It has to reach out.
and that was one of the positive things about the 375th is that they took a lot of culture and went to different parks.
Yes.
Right.
And they
Right.
showed people different things, and I love in the summer how the Olympic Stadium, the Esplanade, is being used once a month.
OSM,
the
food
OSM
trucks.
food truck,
Yep.
different things to highlight. And people are going. And people are going. It's
that's true. That's
Unlike when the Expos played, there's actually stuff to do down there now, which is pretty cool. We have a celebrity listening. I want you to, you know what? I'll tell you. Maxime Bernier just tweeted in saying, Montreal is succeeding despite our political masters. Could you imagine if we had good politicians instead of leaders of the Church of Greta and climatism?
Well,
So
you
thank
see-
you, Maxime Bernier.
You
for
know what?
boy,
Montreal
oh,
can claim.
boy.
He has to understand that Montreal can claim leadership when it comes to moving towards.
I think one of the things.
a more conscious and a more climate friendly sort of environment, which is
Honestly,
good.
I just find climate deniers adorable right now.
Well,
There's nothing else. I just want to boop them on the nose and
It's
say
pretty
you're
frightening
adorable.
though, because we have 20 years is as much as we can ask for when it comes to climate change.
I've never met somebody my age who's a climate denier. Everybody who's a climate denier is not going to be around to see what happens if you deny climate
Well, one of the
change.
things that happened this year was if you want to run a federal or provincial or even municipal party, you better have an environmental program.
For sure.
And Maxime Bernier didn't get that. He got his 2%, or did even get 2%.
No, 1.6.
1.6. Even the CAC, which is considered a right wing, very pro business oriented, they talk about the environment. And their first conference after they got elected was the business and the environment.
Environmental nationalism.
Environmental nationalism.
Why not?
Every day, you
And
look at
every
it.
day, and you look at that, and if you Greta showing up this year, I mean, 500,000 people. That wasn't a small thing. That wasn't a small thing.
Right. You see, once you start assigning leadership to like an individual, then it's so easy for them to pick on her. Look, everyone has to become conscious about the environment, especially political leaders. And Maxime Bernier, he has a responsibility to at least just be conscious of what's happening. The horrible summers, the horrible winters, all the extreme changes. That's evidence enough. And look at the thousands and thousands of scientists that are telling you, we're beyond.
So when the
beyond
boat
that
floods,
point.
it's not just a new book in the Bible, right?
Exactly.
Let's move on to President Dum Dum, who tweeted yesterday about a matter that's been that had been percolating in all Trump media circles for most of the day. The CBC had edited him. He was edited out of his cameo in Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. I don't know if you guys remember seeing his cameo in it.
Yes.
Kevin McAllister asks him something, and he sort of points down that way.
What's his name? Now, you got his name wrong.
It's not Kevin McAllister?
No.
Macaulay Culkin's not Kevin McAllister?
Yeah, exactly.
No, he's Kevin McAllister.
Kevin McAllister is the name of the character in Home Alone.
Oh, yeah.
The one who
That's it.
I know.
Okay, what's his real name?
So Macaulay Culkin.
There you go.
Macaulay Culkin.
Yes.
So Donald Trump implied on Twitter that it was Justin Trudeau, Two-Face JT, who had cut him out of the movie. Now, CBC has announced that they did this change in 2014 to cut 8 minutes off the movie to make it fit into their broadcast.
That would be Stephen Harper who cut him on.
Again,
Stephen
right,
Harper,
right.
yeah.
Well, Stephen Harper. I don't know if Stephen Harper.
I never
cutting
trusted Stephen Harper. He probably cut Donald Trump.
But I don't know if Stephen Harper definitely made cuts at the CBC, but I don't think those were the cuts he made.
He would have liked to get rid of
That's
CBC
right.
in entirety.
Is this Much Ado About Nothing, or is this what's going to start the war between Canada and America?
This is just President Trump's thin skin. I mean, first of all, I don't understand why the CBC cut it out. You can tell me the 8 minutes. I've seen the movie. It's actually, where he's at Trump Plaza.
Yeah.
And he sort of walks by. It's a cameo.
Yeah.
It's a 2-second thing. Who cares? I would have left it. I would have left
but
it in
in
there.
2014, Donald Trump was irrelevant. He was a birther saying that the president was not from America.
Right, but he was
And
still
it
at
doesn't-
Trump.
And it doesn't add anything to the movie.
No, it doesn't. But at the same time, now this is the president who's now attacking Trudeau, basically saying, "Hey, you run CBC, therefore you cut it. Like you
Right.
did it."
Right.
This is absolutely
Well,
childish.
no, it's because what he assumes that unlike in Canada, in the U.S., Donald Trump wants something on Fox News, he gets it on Fox News.
That's right.
So he thinks that Justin Trudeau has the same clout with the CBC as Trump does with this national broadcaster.
Some people would argue that maybe he does, but no,
Trump
this
should not-
is just his thin skin,
yeah,
and
well,
he's just trying to
probably
get
shouldn't
a.
be in the movie. In
If
the first
CBC,
place.
if he had that clout with CBC, they wouldn't have been showing his blackface
Without
photos.
a doubt.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? Tell him it's Stephen Harper, and tell him that he probably should not have been in the movie in the first place.
Yes, Jay Farrar.
Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
Now that's it. Now, if you want to play something there, can you give me that down the hall and to the left one more time?
Where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
So I'm going to go off. I'm just going to riff off something here that's not on our sheet. Doesn't he sound so different?
Yeah.
Isn't there
A
something like to
little
me? This is
mellow and nice, and like he really meant not to send a guy in the toilet or something.
well, it's not. It's not even the mellow and nice. It's just he sounds different. He sounds
Mellow
there's
and
something
nice.
coherent
It's also-
and cogent and not racked with dementia.
It's also a question of perception.
Is what
right?
I hear. I to me, the president
How long ago
sounds
was this?
sick. To me, the president sounds like he has.
Oh, well, he is. He's not
in
well. I mean,
2019,
he's
Donald
not
Trump
well.
sounds to me like he has cognitive issues.
Yeah, but
if
he's
your
young,
uncle
yeah.
sounded like that at the Christmas dinner that you had this week, you would walk up to your aunt and say, "It's time to send Uncle to the geriatric doctor." You would. I'm not trying to make jokes about this. I genuinely think that he is an ill individual.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's so off base when you hear, and I know that's 20 years ago,
Yeah.
but when you hear how he sounded 5 years ago, he sounded a lot more coherent than he does today.
Well, Trump is a symbol for a lot of people to keep liking what America could represent. And a lot of Americans are behind Trump regardless of what he sounds like or look like or the way he acts. So we have to hold on to him for the next couple of months, hopefully, and
Look how
that's
much
the guy
change-
we have.
Look how much things have changed, right? If you go back 10 or 20 years, in this case it's 20 years, but even 10 years ago, Trump was the gold standard, right? If he put his name on something, it was because it was the top
best
quality.
steaks, the best university, the best casinos.
The Trump Plaza at Central Park.
Yeah.
It's an illusion.
You wanted to stay
It's
at
an illusion.
Well, obviously it was an illusion, but it wasn't back then. You wanted to stay at the best hotel in New
It
York.
was back
You were
then.
at Trump Plaza.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. We're going to debate whether we'll keep you in here or not, but right now Sean's got news.